joined by a GOAT. There's nothing better than starting a show off with a GOAT. And great job by Lloyd and great job by everybody that can make it happen. And so excited to be joined by the legend, the myth, the man, the great Tom Holmoe to start the show. Tom, how you doing?
Wow, how you doing, Hans? It's great to be with you today.
Well, it's better to be with you, Tom. It's always great to hear your voice, and it's always great to catch up with you on air. And now you've had a little time to let your decision to sink in. Have you maybe changed your mind, and can we get you to stay for 3, maybe 5, 10 more years?
The decision has been made, and I'm sticking to
it. No minds have been changed yet, huh?
No.
So as it settled in, and you're starting to make future plans, how do you feel about things, Tom? I mean, the next stage of your life.
Well, I feel really good. I think there's 2 concerns along the line the last couple of years as I'm getting older, and there's no magic number for me as far as years of service or age or something like that. But I did really want to have 2 concerns. One is my wife and my family, our future there, and the second is future BYU and our athletic department. And I think that my concern was to make sure that we could be taken care of and in a good position to make this transition for that, and also with my family. So I feel like we're in a good spot with both sides and ready to go.
Tom Holmoe, current athletic director of BYU, making the decision to step into his next portion of life. Great world of retirement, and of course a lot on the horizon. And as you mentioned, some really good things on the horizon for BYU too. Tom, I know you wouldn't step away from this job unless there were some incredible prospects that you had ultimate faith in.
Well, I do. I think that, you and I have talked about this, Hans, as alums from the football program, both of us, that, this isn't something that's just recent history. The history of BYU, the brand of BYU, goes back well before you and I arrived at BYU. And so every time I see individual coaches or players, individual fans, especially the old-timers that come up and tell me stories about the early days of Lavelle, or even if we go into basketball, about Kreshimir Kosic, I always give credit to those individual fans, coaches, players who had an impact on building this brand. And in recent years, with technology, I think with going into the Big 12, our brand has been able to be amplified more and more. So I think we're in a good spot, but it's super challenging. This conference is legit. And as we battle day in and day out in every sport, people realize it, and we realize that there's a lot of work to do to maintain the success going forward.
How much of a part of the hiring process will you be, Tom?
I'm not really involved in it. I think it's important for them to do that outside of me. I'm 100% supportive of the future. So they've talked to me, and I've talked to them. And when I say that, talking about President Shane Reese. But I have great confidence in President Reese and the Board of Trustees that they'll make the right choice to go forward for BYU.
What I've loved is over the years I've got to know your staff pretty well in Brian Santiago, Chad Lewis, Liz Darger, Almondova. You've got an amazing staff underneath you. Just talk about that staff that you've had working with you over the years and just how much confidence you've had in them and them as potential hirings to that position.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I have confidence in transitioning myself away from athletics and having that team be able to be solid in the future. You add on the coaching staffs, particularly our 2 big teams in football and basketball with Kalani and Kevin, and we're in a good spot. I know that those leaders in the individual sports, most all of our sports, as well as our administrative wing, are in a good position. They know each other. They've built this together, and there's enough people that are going forward that this should continue to go forward with a new look. It'll be different, Hans, and I think it should be. I think that in any transition, you'd like to think that, it's not going to be the same, or it could be get a lot better. It really depends on a lot of factors, but the key factor is the people that are in place, and I feel good about that.
I'm curious, Tom, just taking a step way back, at what point did you think in your life you'd be an athletic director? Because I know you came back in the 90s and you GA'd at BYU with the coaching staff, and I know that you coached all the way through the 90s. At what point did you think, you know what, I'm going to be an athletic director?
Well, it's funny. When I was a student at BYU, I remember going in and talking to Glenn Tuckett. I did a term paper on a factor in athletics, and we were talking, and at that point in time I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool job that Glenn Tuckett has. And that goes back to like probably 1980, but it wasn't like that was my only quest. But after I retired from football, my decision was to go into athletic administration, but Lavelle brought me back to BYU when Dick Fell had a heart attack and asked me if I would coach the DBs for that year while he recovered. And that was something I really wanted to do, to be able to take care of my dear coach, Coach Felt, take care of Lavelle and the team and give something back. And during that period of time, I got my education in athletic administration at BYU, but I fell in love with coaching. So I took a little left-hand turn, and then after about 14 years, finally got back to BYU into administration, which I had typically wanted to do in the first place.
I love that you did that. And, you know, I saw you at a gymnastics meet. I was out there supporting a teammate's daughter, and I've seen you at baseball games, and I know you're about at every football practice and scrimmage that they have. I know how much you love this. And one thing I don't think people see as much is the importance of an athletic director. I know my athletic directors, Rondo Feldberg and Val Hell, Tom, I adored them. I used to go into Rondo's office and wrestle around with him, and I'd pick him up, throw him on my shoulders, twirl him around a little bit. You know, he loved to wrestle. And every time I see Val, I still give him a big hug. And those guys were such a support in my life. I know Lavelle was like a father figure to me, but my athletic directors were a higher up that gave me a good example and gave me direction and gave me confidence. And I don't think people understand how important the athletic director is in their relationship with the players. That's got to be one of the primary aspects of being an athletic director, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is for me. Knowing a lot of athletic directors across the country, I think each and every one of the directors has come to their position in a different way. So for me, coming through the world of college athletics as a player, and then as a professional athlete, and then as a coach, my expertise or my area of time spent is in coaching and playing. So my emphasis now as an AD, I spend a lot of time with the coaches and players. I do have some friends that are very good in the business that came up not really as coaches. They may have been athletes in high school, but maybe not in college. But they came up through fundraising or marketing or some other area, maybe compliance or law. And so they have a different background. So there's a different ways to attack it. And I think you can do it in different ways. But for me, that was a natural to just stay close to the student athletes and make sure that I could pave a path for them that would be clear for their success.
How much enjoyment do you get out of sitting back and watching Kevin Young work his magic? You know, you guys put together this formula, built this coaching staff. This staff has built this team. And how much enjoyment do you get out of just sitting back and watching this thing play out?
Well, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I think it's really important. He's put together a really, really good staff. And Kevin and that staff have connected with those players. And it's a great team. When I say team, there's a lot of people around it. These days, you wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of people would, to know how many people on the periphery are included in the heart and soul of that team. You have a strength and conditioning coach. You have a nutritionist. You have a trainer. You have You have academic advisors. You have psychologists. There's so many people in college athletics now that support the success of teams. And that team, Kevin's put it together, handpicked each and every one of those people to be with him and to do it the way that he desires to do it. And right now, they're grooving. So I'm really happy.
So as they step into this opening round against VCU, do you step in with expectations, Tom, or do you just go in with an open mind?
Hey, I'm a coach, so I go into every game thinking we're going to win every game, and you know you're going to go into a game knowing you're going to have every challenge. So in every game, there'll be ups and downs, and the key is to be able to overcome those trials that hit you. And we've seen that this year. We've overcome a lot of trials and won at the end of games. We've struggled at certain points and have not been able to overcome. So there's nothing like March Madness where you get great teams where everybody's there for a good reason. They've won. They've had success. And now they're there to play for the number one team in the country. And everybody has a chance, and they're dreaming the best dreams they possibly can. But it all starts Thursday for us. It starts for some teams tonight in the playing games. And I really believe that there's extra added pressure. There's way more intensity. The added interest from across the country. You can't go anywhere, turn on the radio or TV or social, and not be bombarded with the bracket. So this is just one part of American sport history and tradition that's culturally amazing, and I'm super excited for it.
Man, it's hard to find a football season and a basketball season that are back-to-back like this, that have had this much success, rolling off 9 straight in the football season and then finishing with a big win against Colorado, and this crazy push at the end of the season for BYU to get themselves to a 6th seed. It's just kind of an incredible run back-to-back with BYU football and BYU basketball. How much impact does that have on the overall university success?
Well, I think it does a lot. I mean, we have a large campus community involving students, faculty, staff, the people that live in the community and support the Cougars. And it's just great to see there's a word that's being used a lot in sports these days, and that's intentionality. And I think that when you look at the Kalani's team and Kevin's team this year, they are very, very serious and very intentional about what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And like I went in yesterday and sat in with the football coaches and watched them break down spring practice for a day. And I was super impressed with the intentionality of what they're going to do on that day that's going to lead to success next fall. And the same thing happens with Kevin and his staff. One of my favorite things to do is go up there and just be a fly on the wall and watch it, because I can sense when the players and the coaches are connecting, and they do when everybody understands the common goals.
Well, it's incredible what BYU is doing, and you can't help but think that there's some type of financial impact. Have you seen kind of an increased financial effort towards the football and basketball teams into NILs and coaching retention?
Well, this is a big change in college athletics, and I think in the last 2 or 3 years, as we have transitioned or guided our way through collectives and NIL and transfer portal, it's a change for many fans, and some fans really don't like it, and some fans are intrigued by it. But the fact of the matter is this is where we are, and this is where we're going. So as fans and administration, as coaches and student athletes, we all have to adapt. Sports in any area, whether it's Little League, high school, college, or pro, is about change. It's about transitions, and it's about adapting and being able to stay ahead of the curve. And everybody's trying to do that. So if you look at that right now, I think our fans have adjusted and have adapted rather efficiently. And I think for that matter, we've had a little bit more of a success financially with donations and sponsorships and things like that have helped us and will help us going forward. So when you talk about momentum and strength going forward with our teams, man, it's Cougar Nation. And we're on fire right now. It's a good thing.
Well, it is a good thing. And I talked about this, Tom. I said with NIL, what you did was you engaged your fan base into competition. Largely, you got your fan base to be competitive, because a fan base can actually sway outcomes. If they get competitive with their money and they want to flex out their sponsorship dollars and they want to get involved with NIL, then they can directly impact the potential outcome of a football or basketball team. And I said this, going back to when NIL was first engaged, and I said, you got to watch out, because when you spur the BYU fan base into competition, it's a pretty competitive fan base, Tom, that I've found.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. I go back to the tradition and culture of BYU athletics that goes back decades and decades, about Lavelle's time and before. And I would say that's a savvy fan base. So they wanted to know the changes. So I've had numerous discussions and heated discussions about exactly how it goes and how NIL works and revenue share works and transfer portal works. And when you have a very educated conversation and each other can learn from each other, they've come on board. It's been a little bit tricky sometimes to get some people, and some people are like, look, I'm not jumping into NIL, but I'll help in other ways. And for me, that's fine. I mean, to each his own. But you're right. BYU donors, ticket holders, sponsors have come out in droves, more numbers than I ever dreamt possible. But I think it's built on the brand. This just can't happen overnight. I think that this has to be something that you waken the giant and you move forward with it, but you have to continually teach and train them to understand honestly what's going on. And we've had some ups and downs in trying to have these conversations, and they're not over, Hans. What has to happen in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, there's going to be more changes that you and I aren't even anticipating right now. And the fan base will have to understand you have to bring the fan base. For us, Cougar Nation, you have to bring them along. Like there's something that happened the other night at our Utah BYU basketball games where some of our rock people that have been to every game couldn't get into the game because it was sold out to the seat. And we're going to have to figure out a way for the future to make that to where it's more palatable for the greatest fans there ever were. Yeah. And we're going to do that. It hasn't been a flawless season. There's been a lot of ups and downs behind the scenes that we're always constantly working on, whether it's in athletics or in tickets or in sponsorships or whatever it might be. But I'm just so proud of all the Cougar Nation that has come along for the ride, and I think they're enjoying it.
Well, I think they're enjoying it. I think they're making a big impact. I'm seeing the improvements, and we're seeing the jump. We're seeing the jump in coaching retention. We're seeing the jump in transfer portal acquisitions. We're seeing the jump in recruits and signees, and it's just been an impressive thing to watch. And I know you mentioned the ever-changing landscape, and as you're kind of winding things down on an illustrious career, how much are things going to change, Tom? Because I got to imagine at some point we're just talking about your time in the NFL or my time in the NFL. It's going to be signed contracts, salary caps, and there's got to be some structure. And do you think that'll come sooner than later?
Oh, absolutely, positively. Things will change. I say in my 20 years tenure as athletic director, the first 15 were very similar. And it was, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was, you could predict pretty much how things were going. Now, these last 5 years, we have people on board in our athletic department. One in particular, Dallin Moody, he is our chief strategic officer. And really, he is an auditor and he is a strategy man. And we get together every single day at work to look and anticipate and chart the future that we really don't know what's coming. But you have to put in scenarios to where you think it might be going. And then you adjust as you go. You adjust your sails as you travel. And I think it's invigorating. I'm bullish for the future of BYU athletics in the scene. It's just going to be different. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm transitioning out. I think we need new blood. And I think we need new ideas that I might not have, but I know other people will. Because like you said, if I was still in the NFL right now, we'd be wearing, they'd still be wearing leather helmets. Things change, and things are going to change in the future for college athletics, but we'll be right there with them.
Yeah, that's for sure, Tom. Before we let you go, is there a timeline for you to hand over the keys and make the announcement for a hire?
No, I mean, like I said, I'm not really involved in that, supportive of how they go, but it's just a process that our president and board of trustees are involved with, and in the meantime, I'm pushing hard. We got a basketball game Thursday. My pedal is to the metal. We got a lot to do, and I'm not cruising for a minute. When the time comes, when I turn over the keys, I'll just drop them and I'll turn my back and walk away.
Well, Tom, from an alumni and a guy that's connected with hundreds of alumni, and we all talk about you behind your back, we all love you, man. And we're all so glad that you've been there for the years you've been there and proud of the work that you've done. And you're handing the keys over to a Ferrari, which, that's a pretty incredible thing to say, Tom. I mean, you're handing the keys over to a well-oiled engine that is ready to crank. It's in a much better position than it was when you took the keys. And you really can't say anything more about a man and his job. So really appreciate all you've done, Tom, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. And, you mentioned something. I oftentimes will go into the football room and have a chance to address the football team. And I tell them that, hey, I'm not addressing the football team today as the athletic director. I'm addressing the football team as an alum of this team. And in my 30 years of being at BYU as a player, coach, and administrator, my favorite role is football alum. And so to me and you are alums and thousands out there that are alums, there's something sweet about that, and I'll never forget that. So I look at this year's team and realize those will be football alums, and that's what gives me the strength and the incentive to march forward, is just knowing what it has done for you and me and knowing what it can do for those kids. So let's go, Cougs.
Let's go, Cougs. Hey, and by the way, if you ever want it to be the Tom Holmoe show featuring Scotty G and Hans Olsen, just let us know. We'll build a three-man show. We'll hand the mic over to you, Tom. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Tom Holmoe stepping away from a job that he's been doing since 2005.